The thing that I know now as an agent that I wish I understood when I was performing is the thing that actors completely misread and what agents actually want in a submission is the self-tape mistake that I see actors making every day that they're not aware that they're making is the one improvement actors could make to their self-tape that would change everything. The fastest way to lose a callback before you said a single word, I think would be...
Today I'm talking to Broadway actor turned agent, Arbender Robinson. And this conversation gets into what actors misunderstand about agents, callbacks, self-tapes, career trust, and the difference between doing good work and actually being understood by the people who can hire you. If you're listening to this and realizing you don't actually know how you're being perceived by casting directors, agents, or decision makers, I've got a free tool called the Actor Career DNA Decoder. It'll help you identify exactly what's helping your career and what's hurting your career. You can find the link below. I have been wanting to get this guy on Act Bold for so long because how I met him was we acted in I Love You, My Narcissist together. And he is just a light on a spoon. So, Arbender, welcome to Act Bold. I'm so psyched to finally get you here.
We've been trying to do this for a while. I'm happy that we're finally doing it. And I've been looking forward to it for a long time as well. So thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Talk to me about that day when you were performing on March 3rd, 2024. You chose that date, right? You weren't pushed out or burned. Yeah. So what was happening? What was going on?
So what was happening when I made the final decision to step off the Broadway stage and move into agenting full time? So one, know that I had been agenting not really under the table, but I had been agenting behind the scenes for about 6 years prior to that, helping the agency out and then growing in my responsibilities. And then I found myself at a crossroads where I had to decide legally, do I want to officially become an agent and support my clients, whom I loved all of them, or do I want to keep performing? And at that time, I felt that my skill set and my passion and my drive was going to be better utilized as an agent than as a performer. As a performer, I had done most of the things that I wanted to do. I had experienced things that I don't think I could ever top. Like nothing was going to top my experience in Shuffle Along. Nothing was going to top my experience working on original Broadway shows. So I think I had done what I needed to do performing in commercial theater, but there was all this knowledge, all this information that I knew, all these lessons I learned along the way that I was like, if more people knew this, they could all have really great careers and remove the veil, remove all the questions and all of the myths about what's really happening behind the scenes. So I thought that my knowledge was going to be better used in the universe that way. And as I was getting older, I thought, how much longer am I going to be able to jump around on this stage with actors that are younger than me, with more energy than I have? You know what I mean? I was like, at some point, I'm going to have to walk away. And do I want to walk away by my own choice, or do I want to walk away when the industry slowly says, you can no longer play a teenager, or you can no longer dance this show? And I thought, I really want to have control over everything. And I have this opportunity in my lap where I'm working as an agent. I have this information that I can share with my clients and with others. And I'm not gonna lie, I loved my clients. I really loved them. And I found myself more passionate about their careers than I was about advancing my own. And I thought, I think the universe is telling me to move on. And I made that leap. It wasn't easy, but I made the leap. And why did I choose that day? I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about this for a very long time, and I opened the calendar. I opened my planner randomly, and that date was the first Sunday that I saw in my eye line. And I knew it had to be a Sunday because it had to be the end of a week for Book of Mormon, the show that I was in. And I said, well, then that's it. That's the date. Wonderful. Done. And I wrote my letter.
Love it. There's so many interesting things, too. I mean, really, that your choosing to get, first of all, I believe in this one metaphor where, like, the flashlight through the dark forest. And I think so many times people, especially actors, are trying to plan out steps ahead that they have no control over before they can even know what's going to come around the bend. And so I'm always like, just think of your career like you're walking through that dark forest with a flashlight. And you never know what is going to be behind the tree in a good way, right? That is going to maybe change your direction entirely. And I think when we stay open to that, we can find things that we're more aligned to.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Adding on to that, I find that for myself, the moments that I tried to plan in the career, I'll do this, then I'll move here and I'll do this show, and then I'll get my equity card, my union card, then I'll move to New York, then I'll work all these, none of it happened in the way that I thought it would, or that I thought it should, or even in a way that seemed linear or logical to me. And I found that when I stepped out of my own way and just followed whatever path was in front of me, then things started to work and I discovered things. Another example of this is I gave a concert, and in the concert, my pianist played a song much faster than I ever imagined the song should be, ever. And instead of stopping him or trying to slow him down, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go with it. And I will say this, the song normally gets a lot of applause. Doing it at that new tempo that seemed completely wrong to me actually turned out to be the best choice in the world, because the response for the song and the way everything in the song landed was so much better at this new tempo, which was a mistake. But now we've discovered, by allowing that to happen, there's more value in doing it this way. I think an acting career in the arts, goes down the same path. The more that we try to plan it, the more we get in our way. And we're artistic beings. The more you try and plan things out, the more blocks you're going to put up in your artistry, because we need to be free in that artistry. So we have to be free in the journey as well. You never know what's going to happen. You never know, I'm not really sure about that project. Do the audition anyway and find out, because it's happened to me. There have been projects I've gone in for, didn't even get the call back, and then months later I get a phone call from that casting director or that director. They're like, hey, based on what you did in this audition, which you weren't right for that part, we have this other part for you in a whole different project. So put yourself out there and let it happen, because I think that is the best way to navigate this industry. And that imagery that you just gave, a flashlight in the dark forest, that's a beautiful image, because it makes total sense. That light shining through the trees, going in so many different directions, all of those paths are available to you at any time. So yeah.
Yes, I love that. And the only thing that really is the must is just to keep moving. That's
keep moving, keep working on your craft, trusting your craft.
Yes.
Yeah, and not comparing yourself to the person to your left or your right, just knowing that your path is your path, and then it's going to work out.
Yes, love that. Okay, so you got to tell me how you booked Hairspray with no representation. That I want to know. Because that's just crazy. Yeah.
So there are two versions of this story. This is the version of the story that I tell when I'm speaking to students in most theater groups. And then there's the version of the story that has a little more of what we just talked about in following the path. So I'll give you the short version first, and then I'll give you the longer version. Short version is, I came to New York to visit a friend and decided to audition for Hairspray while I was visiting, and happened to get a call back for Hairspray, and then a month later started rehearsals for the show. So it really just happened that I happened to be in New York at that time. There was a Hairspray open call. I went to the open call and felt prepared to do the audition. That's the short version. Wonderful. Open call, things worked out. Final callback, they didn't even have me sing. They just measured my waist and my inseam, and my sizes at that time, I think I was starving. My sizes at that time matched the sizes of the person that was leaving the show. So they wouldn't have to make a new pattern for the costumes. they could just build me new costumes. So it worked out. The tail end of that, there were 3 other people in the final callback. We are all friends now. 2 of them are much more talented than I am, but I think I lucked out on that day because any of us could have booked it. I just happened to be the right size at that day. So thank goodness I didn't have lunch. There we go. So the long version of that is this. I was living in Florida, had been working professionally for many years, and really had the worst day of my life in Florida. The worst day of my life. So bad that I went to the airport and said, New York or LA right now. And there happened to be a flight to New York. I maxed out my credit card and bought this expensive flight to New York, landed in New York, called the only person I knew, my friend Forrest, the only person in New York that I knew well enough. Called Forrest. Hey, Forrest, you always said if I came in New York, I could crash on your couch. Yeah, sure. When are you coming? I'm here. Forrest said, hey, I am at an audition right now at Ripley Greer Studios for Hairspray. Have the cab driver bring you here, 528th Avenue, and then after this audition, I'll take you to my apartment. You can hang out. I said, great, and I'll audition while I'm there. That's what happened. So it was a dance call. I went into the dance call, not prepared, not dressed properly, but did the dance. Wonderful, did that. They asked me to come back and sing. I didn't have my music book with me, but I borrowed the book of the person who was behind me in line.
Oh my God.
Found a song I knew, dancing in the street, went in, sang the song, and I had nothing to lose. This was a shot in the dark. I don't even think my brain was thinking, oh, I want to book this show. I was just trying to survive on that day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to kill time, So I think my artistry was at its best because there was no pressure. I had nothing to lose. I was just doing what I do. In fact, I was leaving the audition room after I sang, and they said, hey, Arbender, you forgot your music book at the piano. And I said, oh, it's not even mine. It belongs to the person who's coming in next.
They were so impressed with you.
So it gets funnier because then I get another call back to do the scenes. I had never seen the show. It's Hairspray. I had never seen the show. And there are lines in the show, a line that says, hey, I've come to rescue the fair maiden from her tower. And I'm talking about a rope with knots in it and all kinds of strange things. So I played it as if Seaweed was talking up to Rapunzel, like in a castle, screaming up to her. And as I'm doing this callback, they are laughing behind the table. Laughing. I'm committing to all the choices, letting them laugh. And they asked me, they said, have you ever seen the show? And I said, no, I have not seen your show. And your tickets are $75. I will never see your show. I can't afford that. Just completely being myself. And I think it was that energy and that, I don't know if it was ignorance or carelessness or freedom that they were drawn to.
Yeah.
And the director decided, I want to work with that person, with that energy. And it wasn't until I was in rehearsals that I even realized that every choice that I made in that scene, in the callback scene, was completely wrong. Every choice.
But you were committed.
I was 100% committed. Every choice was completely wrong. And that's when that tip sunk in for me. It was like, it doesn't matter if the choices are right. The choices have to be right for you in that moment, and you have to commit to them. That's when that sunk in. And I will say that from that moment forward, every show that I did on Broadway, like every day I was learning all these lessons that I heard about in school, but they actually sunk in when I saw them in practice. So how did I book Hairspray on Broadway, which was the question? Any question with me has a long answer. How did I book it? I walked into the audition room completely free and open to do my best work that I could do at that time, and nothing else mattered. And I think it set me up for the right energy for that creative team to want to work with me. So that creative team, Jack O'Brien, Jerry Mitchell, at the time, the music director was a man named Lon Hoyt. That team wanted to work with me because of that freedom, that energy of nothing to lose. So there we go.
I've noticed so many times it's things like that happen, right? When you could really care less, when you're just having fun and just like throwing yourself into the moment because it's fun, people are drawn to that. But I wish there was a way to, like, it is almost like this internal switch flips, and it's it's one thing to say, I want that switch to flip, but it's another thing to actually make it flip. Do you know anything? Is there like a quick way to doing that?
Yeah, a quick way of doing it, no. However, when I am teaching, when I'm giving a workshop and I'm teaching, or say I go into someone's training program and I'm giving a master class, what I keep reminding them is that in your training program, in any lesson, in any coaching, all we're doing is giving you tools that you can use. We are giving you tools to help unlock you. We are giving you tools that you can use at certain times. We're giving you knowledge and we're giving you freedom. How you use those tools, when you use those tools, do you use them 100% or 50%? That's up to you in the moment. And I keep reminding people that you are already an artist. If you decide that you want to go on this path, you are already an artist. And we, as teachers, cannot teach you anything about your artistry. The only thing that we can teach you is how to make your process faster and easier. So whenever you go into the audition room, you have to remind yourself that whether you book the gig or not, whether you're in a class or you're not, whether you feel that it's your best audition or your worst audition, it doesn't matter. You're still an artist. And all you're doing is taking your product, your artistry, into the room, showing them your artistry, and then you're leaving the same artist that you were when you walked into the room. And I think the more that we can remind people that you are already an artist, if you woke up one day at age 5 or 15 or 30 or 50 or even 70 and said, this is what I want to do, it is because in that moment, you are an artist. And whether someone buys your art or they don't, you're still an artist. So if you always go in the room reminding yourself, I'm an artist, this is my art, this is what I want to do today with what I have, then that's enough. And the more that you can remind yourself of that every day, every time, every audition, every rehearsal, it'll start to become a habit. And then the pressure that you put on yourself will start to fall away. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. I know for me, like I always try and remind myself that the physiological response to nervous and excitement is exactly the same.
The same.
Yes. So when I feel nervous, like I think callbacks can be pretty nerve-wracking because all of a sudden the stakes got raised, you know? And before when the audition was just like, oh, I'm just going to have fun, whatever, do it and forget it. You know, all of a sudden the callback's like, oh, they're taking me seriously here. I better do a good job, you know? And so all of a sudden the stakes are raised. Yeah. And so for me, well, in-person auditions are rarer and rarer. For better or for worse, or at least for, you know, for film and television, probably not for theater. But I used to get into a loop of saying, I'm so nervous. Oh God, I'm going to throw up. I'm so nervous. Now I say, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So just saying that, and that kind of goes into what you're saying with claiming, just claim that thing, you know, and step into who you are, and you can decide who you are, right? You can decide that you are an artist at all times, not just when someone has decided to employ you. Just like you can decide, right? And you can also decide, I have decided that I'm excited and I'm not nervous. I'm super excited to have fun in this audition. So that's one thing I try and say to myself. And the other thing is I remind myself, because during a workshop, I could give two craps, right? I mean, I just have so much fun, right? I don't care if I'm making a fool of myself. I don't care if I'm making weird choices. And that's usually when people start taking out their cameras, right? And they start, because it's fun and it's magnetic to see someone doing exactly what you did during that Hairspray audition, just enjoying the moment as, you know, your artist self. So
No, I will say on the flip side of that, like you said, there are some auditions, you know, I would be lying if I said that I was able to walk into every audition with that same freedom.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it doesn't happen. I think my life circumstances put me in a place where I didn't have enough mental energy to even think to be nervous in this process because I was dealing with life at that time.
Yes.
And I truly think that had I just auditioned for Hairspray normally, and my life wasn't in the turmoil that I was in at that time, I don't think I would have booked it. I think the audition would have been something else. There are instances I can think of. The Les Mis audition, for example, when I got to the callbacks for that, I was so nervous and stressed, and as you said, excited about that process, that callback process was a disaster. It was probably the worst audition of my life. So bad that I started crying in the audition room. So bad that I stopped at one point and turned to the casting director and said, "You've never heard me sound this poorly, have you?" In my mind, thinking they would save me, and she literally said, "No." Like, it was really that bad.
But you ended up getting it.
I did end up getting it. I kept pushing through. The acting work was solid. The homework that I did on that callback material, it was solid homework. All the things that I was doing wrong, all the things they pointed out to me, I knew. When the music director got up from behind the table and said, "Hey, you're singing a phrase wrong," and I said, "Oh, I know, it's measure third. I'm working on it. For some reason, it's not sticking." I knew exactly where the problems were. And I think that preparation and that freedom to have that conversation let them know, oh, he's going to put in the work. He's going to put in the work and he's going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I did something else. I called my agent. So at the time I was in Lion King on Broadway. So I was already in a Broadway show. I don't know what I was so upset about. I left the audition in turmoil, crying. I was so upset. And I also felt this pressure because I was like, up to that point in the audition process, they were considering me for a different role. And last minute, they changed it to Marius. And I was like, this is epic. This is big.
Oh, so the stakes got raised.
The stakes got raised, and they changed it last minute. So I got home at like 10 p.m. and tried to cram this music in, and then came in the next morning for the final callback. So the stakes were high. But I called my agent and I said, "Will you do me a favor?" And she said, "What?" Her name was Meg Pantera. Once I got an agent, I was with her for all of my career. I said, "Meg, can you just call casting? I don't care about the team. I don't care about production. I know I didn't book the show. I don't care. It's totally fine. But can you call casting? Because they're fans of mine. They've seen my work. And just let them know that at some point, I would love to come in when they have time and just sing that material for them so that they know that I can do it." So she apparently talked to casting and then came back to me and said, casting said it's fine, it's not a big deal, and they trust you and they know your work and they don't need you to come in and sing it. And then I said, "Can you call them back and use these words? Can you say, 'For my ego, I would love to come in and sing it for you, just so that you know, and I know that you know that I can do this, because I know that you probably went out on a limb for me to even be seen for this role. And I just want you to know that your decision, your choices were not wrong. So whenever you have time in the future, talk to them." And it was probably 3 hours later, my agent calls back and she goes, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" She says, "Well, they are going to have more auditions for the show because they need to see a few more people. However, they have an offer for you." Not because of what you did in the audition room, but your integrity as a human beyond that. Because you never said that you wanted to audition again for the project. You never wanted to prove anything to those people. You just wanted to be respectful for how casting went out on a limb for you. And you didn't want to do it in hopes that you would get in the show. You just wanted to do it for yourself and for your artistry. And the creative team wants that energy in their rehearsal room.
One of the things Arbender and I keep coming back to in this conversation is that careers move through relationships, visibility, and being known. If you're tired of waiting for auditions to solve all your problems, and you'd like to build more direct access to the people who can actually move your career forward, that's exactly what we do inside the Curator Academy. You can apply to book a free call with me below if you'd like to explore whether it's a fit.
So they're hiring you. They don't know how they're going to use you yet. They're going to figure that out. But when you see final callbacks and things come out, don't freak out because you're not getting one, but you have an offer. And I was like, That's awesome. But you can rest assured that for the next months before the castles came out, I worked on that music night and day until it was perfect.
Oh, I bet.
Go ahead.
I bet. No, I was just going to ask. So that means that your agent called casting, and casting then called production and said, this is okay. So
what he's saying and what he's doing.
I love, yes, love that so much. There's so many lessons in there. And it never like throw that flashlight down just because you're lost, right? I'm going to milk that metaphor until the end. Right. But I love also, keep your integrity. If you believe in yourself and you didn't do your best work, I love that you were just like, I want to prove to you and to myself that you are correct in your belief in me. And I don't want that to be lost. I value you so much that I don't want that to be lost.
Yeah.
And
that same casting office, that was Tara Rubin's office. There were other shows in my career that I've done with that office, other workshops that I've worked on, other original labs and things I've worked on through that office. That office has been so loyal to me. And the cool thing is that office is really loyal to my clients now too, which is great. So, because I can call them up and be like, hey, Mary, or hey, Tara, like I know these people so well because we did establish that relationship so closely throughout my career. Yeah.
And I'm sure when you say this client can do this, they believe you.
Yeah.
Because you've already established that integrity from way back when. Yeah.
Yes.
So important.
Which is a blessing and a curse, because if I don't know for a fact that this client is going to go in and nail this specific material, I have to be very careful in how I submit for that project with that office, because that office now has a high standard for the submissions that I send in for their projects. There are times that I'll submit people for their projects and they'll be like, great, we trust you. We'll bring them in for final callbacks. We don't even need to see them until finals.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
I can't take a risk
yes.
when I submit for certain projects for that office. And if I do take a risk, it's a phone call. Hey, I'm submitting these 3 people. I know these 2 people can go straight through to finals, but I would love for you to see these 2 people and probably zhuzh a few things to make sure they're ready for that final. So, and they'll usually do that too. So, things that agents actually do behind the table. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, I mean, we're going to get into that because I think that that's really important, that an actor understand what an agent can and cannot do, and what an agent, a good agent, should do and should not do, and what you should be responsible for. But we'll get into that in just a minute. First, I'm going to talk about the callback to booking gap. So your workshop casting solutions exists to help actors specifically with this. Are we talking like theater auditions, or is this legit auditions?
Primarily theater auditions. Some film and television, some pilots, but primarily theater and music theater for the work that I do that I feel confident can really help people get over that hump or mentally understand what's actually happening in that process. Yeah.
So walk me through just like 1 or 2 things. Like what would you be looking at? Would you ask someone to audition? What does that look like?
I mean, luckily we're living in a world of self-tapes right now, which is great, because
even for theater.
Even for theater.
Wow.
Final callbacks will be in person. Some regional companies will do a lot of things via Zoom. So this self-tape world is common all over the industry. The first thing that I remind people of is that although the self-tape world is common all over the industry, I do not think it's new. Because even if you think about times that you've gone in for casting for, say, a TV show, what are they doing? They're filming you, and then they're sending it off to someone else. So we're still doing that self-tape process. The only difference is your reader, when you're in the room, is someone that they've picked. Or your camera operator, when you're in the room, is someone from the company, so they know what it should look like or whatever. But that idea of being on tape is not new. So that's the first thing that I remind everyone of.
Yeah.
Even in some callbacks, even in some theater callbacks, oh, the director can't be here, so we're going to film these and then send them off to the director. So that happens all the time. So just do your work. But when someone comes to me, they're like, hey, I'm just having a really hard time. Because we're in a self-tape world, I can then go back and look at tapes. Look at tapes. And what I'm looking at is to see quickly if I can figure out who this artist is, and if I can figure out in their skill set what they're shifting to become different characters. And you can see that right away.
One of the reasons I love what Arbender is talking about here is that most actors are trying to solve problems they haven't actually identified correctly. That's one of the reasons I created Above the Line by Act Bold. It's a collection of AI agents specifically designed to support actors and help you understand your branding, your range, your materials, how you're being perceived in the industry, and even giving you daily workouts so that you can improve your craft on a daily basis. If you're curious about that, there's a link below.
If I watch 5 tapes, I watch them and you sound exactly the same for all 5 characters, even though they're drastically different. And then I watch them on mute and I see that your physicality and everything is exactly the same for all 5 characters, then I can come to you in our first session and say, hey, talk to me about your process of figuring out how you approach characters. Do you approach characters from the world of, I make every character myself? Or do you approach them from the world of, I like to figure out what's common in this character and what's different in this character from myself, and then lean into those things? So I understand how you're approaching characters. For theater,
do you feel like there's a right or wrong way?
I do not feel that there's a right or wrong way, but I think the artist has to be aware of what they're doing.
Okay.
Because if you are an artist that says, I try to make every character close to myself, great. But you're going into a callback where you say you're auditioning for 2 different characters. Well, we have a problem. Because if you're auditioning for 2 different characters and you're in a callback, what casting is going to see is that both of these characters, although different, are exactly the same. So we know for that callback, we need to shift something. Or if you find that you're going in for this same casting office all the time, we know we need to shift something. It can't just be you. We need to shift something for some of these characters.
Okay. So I was going to say, talk to me, like, why is that so different for theater?
Well, I mean, for film and television, right? One, if you're trying to act too much, the camera's going to pick it up. It's a different medium. It's so close. It's right there. And then the editors have to do their job. And if you're trying to put this character on that you haven't fully embodied, some people, Meryl Streep can do it, but if you try too hard, it's going to come off as phony in that medium.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
But for theater, where the art form is slightly heightened anyway, if this character is 20 and this character is 45, there has to be something in the way you approach the character that's different. Whether it's the pace of your speech or the tone that you're using or the type of physical gestures the character does. If they're all exactly the same, then you're not doing this art form. This art form requires actors to become these characters physically, mentally, emotionally, vocally, so that the audience, the 1,000 people in the audience, can all receive that. So if you're just playing yourself, you're not showing the mastery of this skill set that we use in theater. And if you're auditioning for multiple characters in front of them, what's the point of them bringing you in for this 20-year-old and this 40-year-old if what you're going to deliver is the exact same work? We could just see the 20-year-old and call it a day, right? Otherwise, it's exactly the same. You're not being judged on the fact that you can say the lines. Anyone can say the lines. We're being judged on how do you drop into this character so that we can use your skills to make this full picture come to life. Film and television is slightly different because if you do it too much, you're too big for the camera. It's a different skill set in that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question a little bit?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's just been so many years since I've done theater, and I never did musical theater except my very first play, which was Oliver Twist. But beyond that, I never did it again, which is kind of a shame because I would have enjoyed that. But anyway, another story. But I always think of, for me, character development, because I do mostly, 99.9% film, is I think of it like a faceted diamond. And some facets are up at the top and they're much more obvious. They're catching much more light, right? They're shining much more brightly. And other facets are much tinier and way down at the bottom. And so you've got to kind of turn that diamond and polish that little facet up and hold it up to the light. And that's kind of how I think of finding characters that are not, that I don't immediately identify with. So it's got to be a part of me. That is how I approach characters, that it is an authentic part of me. There is a truth in that to me. But some people, their truth and my way of understanding their truth is I have to work harder. I really have to work harder to find it. Like the character I played in I Love You, My Narcissist.
Who is nothing like you at all. Nothing like you at all.
But I mean, really, she's such a terrible mom and all of these things. Like, I would never do that to my child.
Right.
But I get her. I do get her. Yeah. And I also get that she doesn't believe she's being a terrible mom, Well,
because in her heart, she's not being a terrible mom. In her heart, she's being the best mom that she knows how to be in this situation.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
See the movie.
Yeah. See the movie, people.
Right.
So why do you think it is that this is so hard for actors to spot themselves?
Yeah, I think part of it is the way that we teach acting in not all training programs, but a lot of training programs, especially here in the States. I think it's the way that we train actors, because in many training programs, we train actors with things that are right or wrong instead of just enhancing all the things that they're doing. So then they go into it feeling, well, there's a right or a wrong way to approach this character, or there's a right or wrong way to do this scene. I disagree with that 100%. I think there are only right ways, and we just have to make sure that the right way that you're doing is clear to your audience. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that in our training, we always say, we make this comment in the training, be yourself, just be yourself, just be yourself. And I think that the way that we understand that phrase is tricky, because as an artist, as a human, walk into the audition room, be yourself, bring your best work. But at the same time, you are playing characters that are not necessarily you. So that becomes tricky. And then 3, as an artist, what else makes it difficult is, as an artist, you are the product, and you're putting that product in front of someone, and they're going to say, yes, I like this product today, or no, that's not the product that I want. And it's hard to not take that personally, because you are the product, you are the instrument. Wonderful. Like, I woke up this morning, I showered, I brushed my teeth, I got on the train, I went to the audition, I went out to lunch with my friends, I had coffee with my partner, and then I came home, or whatever these things are. That same being is that being that was in that audition room. You live with this product all day, every day. So it's really hard to have a mental separation to be like, when is this product just me, and when is this product altered to step into the artistry and then come back to being myself? And I think in our training, we just forget to have those kinds of conversations, because those conversations are not active work. It's all mental work. It's all conversations. It's different for everyone. It's going to resonate and settle in at different points of your life. It's going to change at different stages of your life in your existence. And as artists, when we're training, we want to dive into the physical work all the time. Give me a scene. Let me go. Let me do it. Instead of just pausing and learning how to simply be with yourself. So I think we teach it backwards in our training
What does that
programs.
look like to simply be with yourself?
Well, something that I like to do in my workshops is so much time talking about anything. What are the books you're reading? Let's go online and just look at some videos of artists that you like, or what are some movies that you like? Why do you like these movies? We're just having conversations about life, about art, about music, and all of these things, so that I get an understanding of who you are as a human. Because then I can say, ooh, interesting. So for this character, I think we can tap into, like yourself, this character may like this movie and this book and this song and this and this and this. But what do you think that character thinks about this song? Because then they're starting to see actively how these characters are different from who they are. Oh, cool. Ooh, and if this person feels that way about this song, what do you think this person would feel if they knew that you read this book? Oh, they would think that's fluff. Great. So now we're starting to truly understand how this character is similar and how this character is different. And this is before we do any real work, before we look at lines, before we do physical work. We're just sitting with ourselves and sitting with the characters and just having random conversations. I think sometimes as actors, we forget that part of the process, that part of being a human, that part of understanding who you are before we dive into what am I saying in this scene. And something that I'll do with actors as well is I'll say, great, when we're getting physical, when we're working on the scenes, can you just walk across the room as this character and then sit in the chair? And what some actors will do is they will immediately pull a moment from the show and walk across the room and sit in the chair in that energy. And I'll say, oh,
which is borrowed energy from what they've seen, right? It's not their own energy. Yes. Okay.
Correct. And I'm like, no, I just want the character to walk and sit in the chair, just so we can figure out how the character walks. It shouldn't necessarily be attached to a scene in the show, because the scene in the show is not the only emotion the character feels. It's not the only, So then we can say, if this is how my character moves in this scene, this may shift in the movement. If my character's normally free and then all of a sudden their body is really still, their body's still in that scene, which is different than this scene. And I watched you do it for yourself on set, just so you know. I watched you do it. You sat, you sat and you truly figured out physicality, of the character and how it worked in certain scenes, how the character moved through certain scenes, whether you were aware of it or not, based on how I teach. I watched you do it, and it was brilliant. It was like a silent masterclass, just watching you, or even for you to decide how you're getting the phone out of the purse and opening it and putting it back in. As the character, I was like, this is fantastic, because now we know who this person is. I'm living in the body of this character. And then we can dive in and go. So, long answer to a short question.
But it's a complicated and nuanced. Yes, I agree, and I find it so nuanced, right? And so overlooked and so confusing, because we hear again and again and again and again and again and again, just be authentic, just be real, just be you. That's what we want. We want you, and then now be the character. Like whiplash, right?
Yes. But I also think that phrase, just be authentic and be you, is just as vague as when someone's like, I want you to be more grounded.
Yeah, what the hell does that mean? My feet are on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Because in every situation, that actually means something else. So sometimes they may say, we want you to be authentic. We want you to be you. And they're probably saying, some of these choices that you're making just feel phony.
I don't believe them. Or
exactly. I don't believe it. That's what they're saying.
Yes.
So they're just like, relax, be more authentic or whatever. I'm not playing myself. This is Scar in The Lion King. My name's Arbender. I'm not Scar. So I'm not playing myself. So
right. And I'm human.
Right. So when someone says be authentic or be more you, I will always ask, can you be a little more specific in like what you're talking about there? More authentic in like how I'm moving, more authentic in the way that I'm speaking, more authentic in the way that I'm, sitting in silence. The same thing with grounded. If I'm working with a student and I say, okay, so I want you to be more grounded in the way that you approach this physicality, or I want you to be more grounded in the way that you understand the location that this scene is in. I'll never just say, be more grounded, because it's vague.
Yes.
And when you say that, every actor interprets that in a different way. So we just have to be specific in our language, just like actors have to be specific in their choices.
Yeah. One of the best lessons I ever got on physicality was during a workshop. I was working with Giles Foreman. He's a coach out of London. And I was really having trouble dropping into this character. She was very repressed, very, like way down at the bottom of my diamond, a facet way down below. And
no lights hitting that.
No. So she had a purse on her lap. I had a purse on my lap. And he just had me take the purse and hold it on my lap like this. So I don't know if you're seeing my hands, just like grip it like this. So it was sitting on my lap, and I was maybe whatever I probably normally would have been doing with it. And just the act of taking that and holding on to that damn purse for dear life, all of a sudden, the emotion was there. She was there. I all of a sudden got her. And I think it's so important. It goes back to what you were saying about living the space, but also experimentation, I think is so, so, so important. If you would do X, what is the opposite of that? If you would walk, like analyze, how do you walk across a room? I love that you say, what is different about this person? So important for actors to remember. So what do you think that actors get wrong about the actor-agent relationship? What do you think would help a lot if they knew? Yes.
I wish we had 24 hours to discuss this. Because I think in general, actors get most things wrong about agents and what agents do. Agents are not magicians. Agents do not create opportunities. Agents do not write shows and produce shows and make projects.
But
agents
other actors do.
Yes, they do.
I just want to throw that
do.
out there, because actors are always throwing other actors, like, what do I need them for? Right? Sorry, I interrupted. Keep going.
No, it's true. It's
Yes.
true. No, it's true. It's true.
Yes.
It's true. It's true. Agents are not mind readers. Agents are not getting rich. If you're not rich, your agent's not getting rich. We only make, in the States, we only make 10 or 5% before taxes and before we pay agency fees and before we pay our admin. We're making pennies. So you are on our roster because we believe in you. It is rare. It's rare, unless it's a really bad agent. It's rare that an agent is not thinking about you. Even if you don't hear from me, it is rare that I'm not thinking about you, unless I'm a bad agent. If it's a bad agent, you'll know and you can fire them and move on. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, how would an actor know that an agent is bad, even if they haven't heard? I just spoke with an actor yesterday. She has not heard from her agent in a year. No auditions, nothing in a year. And so, I think it's time to move on. But when do you make that call, and how do you know?
So let's talk about how you know that an agent's right for you, because that's going to also let you know when an agent is not right for you. So you meet with an agent. Say you're meeting with me as an agent, and the first question that people will ask is, so how do you see me? I, as an agent, will say, one, I would rather you never give that much power over your artistry to another human. I said, I have seen 3 one-minute videos. I see a resume where you tried to cram everything into a piece of paper. And I see a picture. If you are willing to give me so much power over your career that you think I know anything about you based off of these three things, I do not think we are the right team.
Ooh, okay.
You cannot give me that much power. I refuse for any of my clients to allow someone else to give them that much power. But
I
instead,
love that.
So then I would say, but instead, why don't you begin by telling me how you see yourself? What are those projects that you feel are important and why? Because then we can have a conversation about that. I can say, great, based on your materials, I see that. Or based on your materials, I don't see that. Or, based on what I've seen, I don't think you're right for Wicked, but would you like to put something on tape so that I can also see you use that skill set, right? So just right away from there, most people will know if I am the right agent for them or not, just based on how I respect them and their artistry and their career and how I communicate with them. So in that meeting with your agent, you're learning, you're seeing, do I vibe with this person? Most agents do the same thing. We submit, we push, we make phone calls, we negotiate contracts, and we say, hey, you're fabulous. That's our job. We do the same thing. But is that relationship a relationship that you trust, right? Do you want to trust that this person is going to make a phone call and speak on your artistry on your behalf? So that's what the client-agent relationship actually is. And when things shift in your life, when things change, when you have new ideas, when you've discovered a new skill set, you communicate that with your agent. And if they don't believe you or they don't understand, you give them the resources they need so they can see it and understand what that is. But if you haven't heard from your agent in a year, I would say, one, to the client, I'll be like, well, why haven't you reached out to them? Just be like, hey, you know what? It feels a little slow for me right now. Is there anything that I can do? Am I just in my feelings? Is it really slow or is it not? Like, what's happening? Let's talk, Or are you struggling as much as I am? Do you find that it's slow for clients across the board, or what's happening? Have a conversation with them. But if you don't feel comfortable enough to have a conversation with your agent like that, then it's the wrong agent.
Yes, I love that answer. And I think, like so many things in life, it starts with the vibe check. Actors approach getting an agent, they'll have their top 10 and kind of whoever responds first and says, welcome aboard. Or if they don't get any, then they move to their top 10 through 20, whatever. And they keep going down the list like that. And maybe by the time, maybe their number one agent finally got a chance to see their materials 4 months in or whatever it is, and then they respond. There are so many, I think one of the biggest problems is not doing a wide outreach. So, and underestimating who you think based on big names, who should be representing you. Right. As opposed to having like actual conversations with the actual agents who might be representing you. Yeah. And because, somebody in a huge agency, I won't name any names, but somebody in a huge agency might be a good fit. Might be. Maybe they're brand new and hungry. Or maybe they're trying to take you on because you're direct competition with one of the people that they're actually trying to push.
Could be. Or a larger agency could be like, listen, we have all these top profile clients that are only going to do these kinds of projects at this price point. So I'm going to take you on and know that I can submit you for these smaller projects, right? You went to that big agency thinking they're going to put you in the mix for these big, high-powered projects, but that's not why they have you on the roster. They have you on the roster to fill these needs over here. I just had a conversation with a ex-client. Now she's an ex-client the other day because she was specifically on my roster because she is a fantastic dancer, and I have very few fantastic dancers. She's a fantastic dancer, but she wants to cross over into no longer dancing and just being a vocalist. And so we had to have a conversation. I said, well, here's the problem, is that when I look at my roster and I look at the projects, because I was like, what are the projects that you're targeting? I look at the projects that you're targeting and I'm like, we have a problem now, because for this project, casting is probably going to respect me if I submit 1 or 2 people for that role in this project, and you want that role. I am the wrong agent for you now, because in no world would I ever be able to get you as my top 2 choices for this role that you really want. I can get you in for these roles, these dancer
now,
roles.
What if she had said, yeah, like, because you had said before, like, if I don't believe in you, then you need to show me something that will make me believe in you. So had she said to you, okay, fair, give me something to prepare and I'll come back in next week and do that.
Great. We did that part as well. And we watched the material. We watched the material together. And I discussed with her, right? I do it all the time. I discuss with her, okay, great. So these are the things that I would want to tackle, and these are the ways to tackle them. And these are the ways to make this stronger. And these are the ways that I know this casting team, this is what they're going to respond to. And based on what I'm seeing here, this is what they're going to not respond to. So let's work on it. And we worked on it for months.
Okay, yeah.
And then I said, for my roster, my vocalist roster, this is not, I believe in you. I believe in your skill set. I believe in your talent. I believe you can get there, but we're not there now. And I would be a horrible agent to you, because you're going to see a submission report. You're going to see how I submitted, and you're going to see that I wasn't able to submit you for these projects. In the roles that you want.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not a fit.
So
and I'm not afraid to have that conversation. Go ahead.
I love that. No, I love that you're so honest, and that you gave her a really long time to, a few months is a long time to, like, say, here, show it to me, and okay, you didn't do it this week, but maybe next week, and you did that for several weeks and several months, and that is more than fair. I'm assuming, though, she also was fighting for herself, which I think is also good, right?
Yes.
She was going in and saying, I want this, and I want you to see me as this. And so I think that there are 2 sides to this coin, like having an agent that you can have that conversation with, but also advocating for yourself. Like, why are you not submitting me for this? What is missing for you? Or who is stronger on the roster that I need to be analyzing and, maybe take out? I don't know. But no, I'm kidding. But
yeah.
Right? What are your favorite conversations to have? Or what are your favorite questions, I guess, to have from an actor when they come in to have that initial conversation with you?
Yeah, I like when actors ask, hey, based on my submission materials that you're seeing today, what are your initial thoughts? I love that. Like, cause then I'm just blindly talking about, this is what I see, this is what I don't see. I love this, I love this, I love that. I love when actors come in and they have a clear idea of, at least in New York, if you're coming in and you're like, I want to be on Broadway, I love when they have a clear idea of what is happening on Broadway today and where they think they fit into that world. If you come in and you're like, my goal is Broadway, great. Where do you see yourself? My Fair Lady. That's not on Broadway. So, like, I can't. There's nothing I can do with that information. I like that. I like when they come in and they can talk about what they see.
So know your market, in other words.
Know your market, know your industry, know your skill set, and be proud of that and able to talk about it. A question that I ask my, if someone's fresh out of school, a question that I'll ask is, hey, based on your training for the last few years, where do you feel you had the most growth? Like, what were those challenges that you feel that I was able to conquer? Great. And then my follow-up question is, and where do you still struggle? And I will begin that by saying, where do you still struggle? I know for myself, out of school, dialect work, garbage. Horrible. I was like, classical work outside of Shakespeare, horrible. Do not give me restoration. Dude, horrible. I can't do it. I was like, singing rock, like full on rock, horrible. I want to know, where are those areas that you struggle? Because if I get an audition for you and I know that this project utilizes skills that are a struggle for you, I can immediately ask for more time for the audition for you. I can immediately look over the material before sending it to you and say to you, hey, just so you are aware, these are some things that I thought about that may help you as you're preparing for this. Because I know what your challenges are. I know what your struggles are. Or if it's dialect work, hey, I already talked to them and they said, do one take with no dialect and then do half of the scene with the dialect just so they can see where you are. And here's a link to this person online giving you a quick tutorial on what that dialect is. Like, I can help you in your process if you are
honest.
aware. Yeah, and if you are aware and can have that kind of conversation with me. If you mumble around and you don't have answers and you haven't thought about any of these things, you don't know where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, as an agent, I can't help you because you have to know your skill set better than I do. I don't know. And how I would do it and how I would approach it is very different than how you would. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. This is something that I'm always helping actors with in terms of just, it's their branding, right? Like what is your North Star? Where are you trying to get to? And what are you missing? What do you have that's an asset that's going to get you there faster? And what are you missing that you need to create or whatever to help yourself get there faster? So you see this a lot, like, more in film and television, but like, I want to be doing Game of Thrones. And well, first of all, it's not on air anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's not being filmed anymore, right? There is that. Second of all, this is a German actor who wants to do this kind of stuff. And it's not to say that they don't cast international when they were, but you're in the wrong market.
Right.
Right? So, and that is also not impossible, but what you need to, who are the people that you need to be getting in touch with, and what do you need to have to show them? Because you showing up as a cop in the 1000th German procedural that you've been in, right, is not showing them you as a witch who is an archer expert or whatever, archery expert.
Right.
Yeah. So I think oftentimes we as actors can underestimate how much creative pressure everybody else is under. And when you're under creative pressure, your cognition goes down, right?
Yes.
You just want to know clearly, what is this? What is it, right? You don't want to have to figure it out, infer. And I think so many times, when I look at an actor's show reel, and I know that they're talented, but their show reel is made up of a bunch of crap, really low budget student films, or maybe they had a one-liner with Brad Pitt, asking him his coffee order, whatever, something like that. All of that is showing you at the level you do not want to be working at.
Right.
So it is not useful information, not to where you want to get to. If you want to continue doing that kind of stuff, it's perfect. Right.
We could also look at that, have that conversation, and say, hey, just listen, based on this show reel is solid for these types of projects. It's solid. You will definitely get called in for this cop. You'll definitely get called in for this bank clerk. You'll definitely get called in for this waitress. But for these other things you want to do, we don't see that skill set here. So these are things that we need to beef up, whether we find our own footage and film it, or whether we get into a class and work on building that skill set, or we do some smaller films where we push for these types of roles so we can do this, or we revamp the show reel so that it no longer celebrates the fact that you do this well. We'll trust that the resume does. We'll trust that the pictures do. We'll trust that we can tell that you understand how to look great in front of a camera, but then we need to push this way a little bit more so that we're showcasing where you want to be. For this actress that decided to go in a different direction. We did decide, I do think you can compete on my roster as a vocalist. We would have revamped everything. We would have removed most of her dance footage from her reel.
Yes.
Because that's no longer what we're selling. And for most of your career, the industry also knows you as a dancer. So they're going to see that right away. So we have to make sure that what I'm putting out there and how I'm submitting you and how I'm pushing you and how you're showing up shows less dance. In fact, I just sent her an email this morning because even though she's gone to a different office, I said, be careful, because the last 3 weeks on your Instagram, all you've posted are clips from you in dance class, from you killing it in dance class. And I was like, that is solidifying the fact that your dancing
people think of you as a dancer. Yes.
It's fantastic. I was like, so I think we might just want to be aware of that, because we're still selling the same product, even though mentally you want to be somewhere else. So, because I was like, if you want to sell that same product, please come back to me because I love you. So
yes. Yeah. And that's so good. Like, keep showing people what you're capable of. There's more than one way to do it. How do you feel about self-tapes? Like, if someone says, okay, I know I don't have any lead role material on my show reel, but here's me, I did a self-tape, right? And here it is. What do you so that you can watch this, would you feel comfortable submitting me if you were to receive this as a self-tape? How do you feel about that?
So a few things. I'll always look at your tapes. In fact, when you come to me as a new client, I'll be like, send me everything that you have. It's impossible for it to be too much. Throw it all into a Google Drive or a Dropbox or whatever. Send me everything. Pictures, still photos from shows, reviews, videos of you rehearsing a song. Just send me as much as you can so that I can spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours doing research on you, learning you, watching this, boom. Because then something will happen where you'll be like, you're working on your reel, and I'll be like, wait, no, you have that clip somewhere. I think you're singing like Mac and Mabel or something. They're like, oh yeah, but like the end of that might be good. So I have a wider knowledge now of what you do. Or I could be like, oh, there's a picture of you when you were in Rent standing on a rail. It was such a great picture. Throw that picture in here, like all that stuff. So let me do my research, so then I start to really learn you as an artist after the initial 3 minutes that I saw, which is nothing. That's research. If someone is like, hey, I don't have a lot of footage, but I do have these self-tapes, I'll look at them, tell you my thoughts, and sure, I can submit you, but I'll be like, hey, but let's redo these self-tapes again, and let's really lean into this, and this. And on this self-tape, we're gonna slowly zoom in as you're delivering this part of the text. We can do it in iMovie, and we're gonna add a little bit of underscoring, just so it has a different feel and it draws us in and it feels more like actual work and not just a self-tape. And we just have to make sure that we're tweaking the work enough to make it great, because a self-tape is one thing. A self-tape, you learned it really fast, and you threw it on tape with a static camera and hope for the best. But now that you know that work, I'll be like, can you use the camera angle even more? Can you use the space even more? Now that you really know who this character is because you learned it a month ago, so you know it really well now, what else can we layer in to make the work more than the work is going to be on a self-tape, but now we're showcasing your skill. For some people, I'll have them make a list of what all their strengths are, and I'll be like, ooh, well, we can layer in some of these strengths in this self-tape. So can we just layer in a little more of this, a little more of that? Yeah. You know what I mean? So if it's a self-tape, I'm going to try and tweak it a little bit so that it just has a little more value when I'm trying to push and submit you.
It's okay if it looks like an indie film, and it shouldn't look so much like a self-tape. Is that what you're saying? Or not necessarily?
I would try to make it look more indie than 100% self-tape. However, if it's all you have and it's the best that you have, that's good for your agent to know. Because then I can say, hey, I'm submitting this client for this project. I think their work is fantastic. I'm sending over this self-tape of their work. but I can vouch and say that you get them on camera and they're going to give you this, and this as well. You know what I mean? Like, I can say that if that's all that we have, or I can say, hey, we're still working on scouring through all the footage, but something that I can send you really fast
Love that. Yes.
is this self-tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll figure it out. So like, but you have to have the conversation with your agent so your agent knows how to advocate for you in the best way possible, right?
Yeah,
I tell my clients too, this is a bit of, I hope every casting director in New York doesn't see this, but say a client goes to an audition and they bomb. Like, it's horrible. I tell them, I'm like, tell me immediately so that I can do damage control. Tell me right away. There have been times that a client has bombed and I've emailed casting and I said, hey, did my client make it to the audition? Yes, they did. I'll be like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad they made it because I gave them the wrong time and I sent them the wrong material. What did they do in the room?
Yes.
I'll say it.
That.
And then I'll say, great.
Yeah.
Is there a way that we could have them come back in the room later when they've had more time with the material? Sorry for my mistake or whatever. Like, let me know so that I can vouch for you.
Yes.
Please, I will do every. Agents
my
are
God.
Actually doing.
Will you be my agent, Arbender? That's amazing.
You know what I mean? But that's our job. Our job is to like. One, I mean, I'm saving you, but I'm also saving my own reputation.
Yeah. But
Like,
so good.
If you went in and bombed, like, I don't want casting to be like, who did our vendor send us? Let me fix it.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
oh my God. We could just keep talking and talking and talking and
For
talking.
hours.
And I'm sure we would just get more and more and more gold. But we must bring this to a close. So where can
Okay,
people
yes.
find you?
If you want to email me, it's best to email me at my work email address. And that will be Arbender, which is my first name, Arbender at fsetalent.com. It's FSE Talent because it's an abbreviation of Firestarter Entertainment. fsetalent.com. Or you can find me on my website, arbender.com. That's an easy way to get a hold of me. However, if anyone ever reaches out to me, just let me know how you found me. Because we get so many people reaching out from so many different places. If you say, hey, I saw you on this on this podcast, I'm reaching out to you, then my brain knows how to sort it.
Got it.
But if you don't do that, then I'll be like, I don't know who this is, and it might be spam or it might be a scam. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so what if somebody wants to take your workshop? Do you do that online or?
Yeah. If someone wants to do a workshop, it's easiest. You know, if you want to do a workshop, reach out to me directly and we'll talk about it. Most of my workshops I teach through 2 companies in the city. I'll either do it through a company called Broadway Artists Alliance, or I'll do it through a company called New York Vocal Coaching or New York Acting Coaching. It's the same company. And the only reason I do it through those companies is because what I don't like to do is deal with accounting and being like, did you pay for your class? I don't like dealing with that. So a different company deals with that. I don't like to do a lot of marketing. A different company deals with that. So yes, if you want to reach out to me, either reach out to me directly and I'll direct you to the right place, the right channel to go through, or New York Vocal Coaching or Broadway Artists Alliance.
Love it.
So there we go.
Last question. This is Act Bold, the podcast. So what is a time in your life when you acted boldly and it turned out unexpectedly? Let's just say that.
Ooh. I mean, acting boldly. What's a time in my life where I acted boldly and it turned out unexpectedly? I am going to work in reverse. I acted boldly and stepped out on faith that being an agent was the right path for me to take. And that has worked out unexpectedly. I acted boldly before that when I stepped in and said, you know what, I'll help you run your agency for a while until it really gets on its feet. That turned out completely unexpectedly because I knew nothing about being an agent and now we're doing great. I acted boldly when I hopped on a plane and flew to New York and decided to walk into an audition for Hairspray.
For sure.
I feel like the times that the industry has rewarded me the most was also the time that I acted boldly and stepped out on faith and trust. You know, I was in The Little Mermaid on Broadway and I left the show not knowing what my next show would be. I put my notice in for Little Mermaid, and literally, I think a week later, I had an offer for another show. And I was like, can you start me a week later? Because I still have one more week at Little Mermaid. It was like, and they were able to adjust things. So, but I wonder if I wasn't bold enough to say, I think my time here is done, I wonder if the universe would have even presented the other opportunities. So I think most great choices in my career have been a result of me acting boldly. And I think some of the pitfalls in the career were probably when I was trying to play it safe, I think.
Love, love, love. Arbender,
Yeah.
this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if this conversation got you thinking differently about your own career, I've got a free actor career DNA decoder that'll help you figure out exactly what's been holding you back from the roles that you were born to play. The QR code is right here, or you'll find the link in the description below. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And even more importantly, share it with an actor who needs to hear it. Until next time, bye-bye.